What up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the Yama channel. My name is Thinker St. James. This is last week's fights, and I am joined, as always, by my good friend, my co-host, the Ohio player, the man voted most likely to call out Ian Magato Cherry, Chase Parton. How you doing, brother?
I am good. That was such a good intro. But hey, listen, it was an even better card, I'd have to say, for an Apex. I feel bad now because this was kind of really, really good. They should have had a really big crowd for it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, this was a good one. Couple of interesting things on this one. You know, some just elements from the sports side of things, and you know, just some good performances as well. So yeah, this was a decent one overall for sure. Yeah, yeah, I just want to make okay, we're good. Sorry, just to double checking one thing. Yeah, no, absolutely. We got Burns versus Brady is the card, and we'll be going over that. We'll be going over Dana White's Contender Series Week 4 as well. If you are new to the stream, we will go over every single fight on these cards. So if it's something that you want to talk about that is not pertaining to the fight that we are talking about at the moment, we will put it to the side. We will come back to it at a later time in the stream. But to begin, let's go all the way down to the first fight of the evening here. What up, TJF? How's it going, brother? This is Ziggy Mantis Ramaska versus Nathan Fletcher. What'd you think of this one, huh?
I should have went with my gut on this one because I saw it. I envisioned it at first, and then I did think about it, and you swayed me. This was your fault, I believe.
I take this upon myself. I definitely do. Because I was going to agree. I'll go with your gut. No, my gut was telling me Ramaska for sure. And I think that the reasoning behind the choice did show a little bit. Because in that first round, I gave Ziggy the first round. I think that he was more controlling. I think that he showed his skill set pretty well in the first round. He kind of had Fletcher in some tight snags for a second there. That fucking inverted triangle weird dealing was you know, it wasn't super effective.
Definitely wasn't gonna work.
Yeah, you know, not super effective, but definitely uncomfortable, and you know, showed a little bit of his athleticism / innovation, I suppose. But I did think that he looked pretty powerful in there. You know, he was throwing some decent shots. He broke Fletcher's nose earlier. I mean, he at least had it bleeding, so it looked like it might have been a break. You know, so
no,
good.
It was for sure.
Yeah.
We need him right, bro. It went right over the nose, like that.
Yeah, it was a heavy shot. Up. Yeah, for sure. So I mean, you know, it was a decent first round for him. I think that he looked pretty good. He had a really nice reversal on the ground too. That was something that I had in the notes. Then in the second round, I mean, you know, just I got caught slipping in the sense that Fletcher tied him up, and then that toss from Fletcher was gorgeous. Good Lord, man. He did that full side swing over toss. Really, really nice throw. And it started off the finishing sequence, head and arm. That's all she wrote.
Yeah, this is one of these submissions that, like, it's easy to get caught up in quick because like it's like once it's like almost locked in, it's like there's not much you can do but just like pray that his arms give out kind of deal. And it looked like to me it's like he slipped up, got caught in an easy submission that ended very quickly. You know?
Yeah, well, you know, an interesting note there. Of course, we'll talk about it when we get to that fight, but in the fight where there was an extremely heavy favorite, that guy was able to break a head and arm that looked like it was pretty secure. So it's not impossible to do it, I guess is the point of that. But once you're locked in like that, it is what it is. So unfortunate for Ramaska. I mean, I think that there's still some potential for him to, do decently. I mean, like, it's one of those deals. I think that he's still early on ish, but I mean 9-3. That's not super super early. So he really needs to kind of get some of these elements of his game kind of worked out. But there's not. I don't think that it should be the end for him personally. I think he looked good enough in that first round. He wasn't super slouchy in the first round, like said. So I think that there's probably something going forward for him. I hope.
What I want to say I liked, and this was just a nice touch by whoever decided this, that they were also in their tough gear. This wasn't like
Yes.
like a UFC kind of debut feeling. It was like, oh, this is something unfinished from tough kind of.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that is a good note that both of these guys were injured on The Ultimate Fighter. So it was nice that the organization gave them this fight after the fact to, let them finish out their journey from that show, because both of them would have been in their finale fights had they not been injured. So, yeah, good stuff. But yeah, I mean, now Fletcher, I mean, this is, he's 9-1. I mean, this is a good start to his road. And, he is an Englishman, and
he's gonna put on a performance anytime he comes on. That's all I gotta say. Fletcher, do you, man? Be on your way, young king.
Yeah, sorry, bro. We're having the internet problems again. Hey, it looks like we're back. I don't know. We might just have to roll with it, man.
Yeah, I got you.
Unfortunate, but yeah. Sorry out there if
no, I'll keep it up right here muted.
All right, yeah. Let me know if we're going down super heavy, because I mean, it looked like it was only a short one, but sorry for the internet issues, man. I'm trying to troubleshoot them as much as possible, as you know. But I mean, it's weird because that's just from the streaming side of things. You're sounding fine, everything's sounding fine on this end.
I'm telling you, man.
And I know, bro. Something fishy. Who knows? What up, John Dong? How you doing, brother? Hopefully it'll hold out. Let's keep rolling with it. But
yeah, we got to do this for John. Like, come on.
Yeah, absolutely. Not for everybody that's rolling with us. Appreciate y'all.
Dude, Contender Series tomorrow. Yeah, yes. All right.
Absolutely.
Anyway, back to the
yeah. Shout out GP Negron. What up, man? But yeah. Anyway, so what we were talking about there with Fletcher being from England, it is nice to see the English wrestling starting to develop in a more legitimate way. Because for a while there, that seemed to be one of the slight holes in the game, as the Englishmen were mainly strikers, and the wrestling wasn't catching up as much. You got a couple of guys now from England who are doing their thing with the wrestling, so that's good to see as well. And I mean, the only thing I would be concerned about with Fletcher right now, based on that performance, I don't. He didn't get a knockout on either of his fights on Ultimate Fighter, did he? Do you remember?
No, he got subbed in the first. He was the first fight of the. No, he was the second fight of the whole thing, and he got subbed.
So wait. So then he wouldn't have been going to the finale fight. So then
no, so but he had a broken leg after like the first leg kick or whatever. So Dana kind of like, this was like a pity matchup. That's why I said it was kind of interesting that they gave him the tough stuff, because they weren't ever gonna match up. This is just like a.
So Ramaska didn't win either. Okay.
No, he did win. No, he won.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say, I thought one of them at least
just had a broken face, and they didn't want him to compete.
Okay, all right, yeah. So I was like, I thought my entire world was shifting for a second there. Okay, but so, yeah. So I mean, that would be a concern for me, based on what I saw out of his striking. I mean, it wasn't like he wasn't throwing with intention, but I just got to see him do some damage with his hands. You know what I mean?
Here's what I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Aspinall's going to be champ for a good time. Looks like. Patty, we will see what happens. Nathan Fletcher, who knows? Leon Edwards may get his belt back. England might be on the rise, man. I mean, they have been, but, the rise might actually get to a peak. It's maybe what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have been keeping my eye. What the fuck? I've been keeping my eye on Lerone Murphy since that fight with.
Look, there you go with another
Barbosa. One. Absolutely. So I mean, that I'm don't want to play Nostradamus over here, but that was my one that I'm like, I see star potential in that for sure. If he can continue performing at the level that he performed against Barbosa, who was a beast in his time at the very least, and had been doing pretty well recently. So, I mean, like, there really was nothing to say that Barbosa couldn't have come out and given a vintage performance, but Murphy was just fantastic in his fight. So yeah, there are definitely a couple of folks from England who are doing their thing, and yeah, I mean, there could be a little bit more of a come up. I mean, they can't be riding with Bisping forever. They got some, they got to get some new fresh blood in there.
That is a good fucking point. We just watched 217, guys. Come on, you
Indeed.
gotta get something going.
Yeah, most definitely. So good for Fletcher. We'll see what he does going forward. And like I said, I hope that Ramaska, that it doesn't tank him in the organization altogether, because I do think that there's probably more for him.
No,
If not, another organization will definitely snatch him up.
no, he's gonna be here for a while. Dana seems to like these dudes just because of the way that he loves people that'll just go through whatever injury they have. He loves those warriors, those savages, whatever you want to say.
Yeah,
He
and
loves those type of dudes. He'll sign them for 10 fucking years.
for sure. And as Negron saying in the chat, Fletcher 4-1 in his last 5 with 3 subs. That ain't bad at all. So, all right. Well, moving on from a decent performance to what was possibly the worst fight on this card, in my opinion. I mean, if not the worst, it was a close second. This is Andre Petrosky versus Dylan Budka. I know that you have a lot of opinions about Dylan Budka, even coming into this fight. I would suspect that those opinions were reinforced by this fight.
I want to make a couple points. As much as I've talked shit about this dude, I still put money on him because he missed weight. Maybe not my best choice. Okay. Second point I want to make is that earlier today, I saw a podcast clip from an interview with Crazy Kev MMA. Shout out. Your guy, your boy. And it was with Dylan Budka. Okay. And I would assume this interview happened, before his fight sometime, it did. I don't assume it happened today or yesterday. But Dylan was talking about how the UFC was very interested into like signing him for more fights.
Off of what?
If this was after this performance, I don't believe it. And if this was before that performance, I don't think you should be very confident, my guy. That's pretty bad.
Yeah. So let me expand on some of these points. This was a clinch fest, 100%. I mean, this was just a cuddle fest through and through. As I always have to qualify, I try to be as fair with these fighters as possible. I've seen Petrosky fight several times now, plenty of times. I might have seen the majority of his fights in the organization. I'm going to come out and say it. Petrosky sucks and Budka fucking sucks. Like, this is, I have to be honest about this shit. Petrosky, what bothers me the most about him is that he gets into these long extended clinching and grappling situations and doesn't do a thing with them. He is so much of a fucking lay-in prayer. It's like, you have to be advancing the position, my dude. How are you moving towards the finish of the fight? It is constantly just neutralization with a little bit of action. He is the definition of what a referee would yell, more action, more, let's go, that type of shit.
Mark Smith is normally pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he does just enough sometimes. You know what I mean?
I don't know what his record is on the stand 'em up type of deal, but in this fight, I was sitting here at the end of the first round, and I was like, okay, halfway through the second round, if this is what we're seeing, you obviously can't let them do this a third round, right? I was wrong. And then the point you make about Andre being a lay and pray is very true. But I have also never seen a lay and pray as much as Dylan from the bottom position. He was just locking Petrosky up. And what's funny is Petrosky had no answer for it.
Yeah.
He just had no answer for it. And somehow Mark Smith did not stand them up for 3 fucking rounds. Like, wow.
Yeah, you have the immovable object and the unstoppable force in Budka tying him up from the bottom and Petrosky not being able to do shit from the top. Like, it was really the definition of stalemate a lot of times. And as you had mentioned, Budka coming in 2 pounds overweight, I also threw the money down on him. The conventional wisdom says the guy misses weight. He has an advantage, doesn't have as bad of a cut, all these kinds of things, everything that you normally think about going into a fight when a fighter misses weight. Budka comes in looking like another sack of potatoes, just like Chelsea Chandler. I mean, this is the Chelsea Chandler syndrome, and Budka caught it for sure. So I think Budka needs to be cut, personally. I don't think that he should have another fight in the organization.
I honestly agree. That's why I brought up the story with the, that
for sure, yeah,
because that is so perfect that he really is just in his own world. Elite, I
What
appreciate you. You missed a
what
funny
up, Elite?
story. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dylan is just in his own world. He clearly does not get it because when you see people have that type of game plan, it's like, oh, I gotta just wait till the round ends and then back on the feet. It's like normally they're killers on the feet, or they have to be. This dude doesn't have anything. His movement, he was first off moving way too much in the first round to ever, and he wasn't throwing anything. He wasn't countering. And Petrosky isn't like a really striking kind of guy. So the fact that it instantly kind of went to the ground and he just had no answer, it's like, dog, like, fuck, were you doing the entire camp, my guy? Like, if you weren't cutting weight, what were you doing? You weren't working out. You didn't come in shape. You didn't do many combinations. It doesn't look like you were in training camp. I just don't get it, bro. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
the only thing that I can think of is that he might have been injured at some point during his camp, which is, it happens. That's fair, but like to come in and get 30-27s across the fucking board, bro. Like, yeah, Budka, I mean, there's like, a 7-4 now. This is all of the signs are there. It's like you have the strikes. It's the performance like that, the scorecards, the weight miss. I mean, like how much how much do you need in order to get your head around the idea that he's not it?
I I believe Dana makes a lot of good decisions, and as we see, maybe he's not, from the blooper thing or the behind the scenes show, maybe he's not the one who actually makes a lot of decisions anymore. It's probably Hunter, but Dylan needs to go, bro. It's bad.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll
And
see how long he sticks around. But yeah, go ahead.
I want to get into this point. It's like we see some of these people. This dude was Contender Series, right? Let me double check.
Yes, yeah. You were talking about how you saw him on there.
We see these people come from Contender Series and they have so little, experience, but they have the ability for one good performance, kind of deal. They don't put it.
Yeah.
There we're starting to see maybe like we love the fights that happen in the contender series, but maybe the talent isn't proving that it is deserving of the limelight that it gets or whatever, or after the fact or the contract. I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So we'll see what ends up happening with all of that. Hopefully,
Watching it load on my end, but we'll take a moment. We'll
yeah,
see.
it keeps doing the flick. Looks like it should be back now. All right.
Just roll
Well,
with it. If it'll keep
yeah.
coming back on, just keep rolling with it. Hey,
Right on.
appreciate you guys, Elite,
Yeah.
Henry. You know the deal, man.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for rocking with us through the problems. Like I said, I've been trying to troubleshoot this shit, work through it a little bit more here. Anyway, all right, let's move on to the next fight while we hopefully sort all the bit rate out. The next one is Jacqueline Amarim versus Vanessa Demopoulos. This is the first of two controversial finishes of the evening. So Demopoulos had a nice knee when Amarim went in for that first takedown, but that was pretty well the majority of what ended up happening on her end until the glove hook incident. So, I mean, the only other thing that besides that was that Amarim used her body weight pretty well. When she was on top for a second there, she kind of had her, like almost in like a fireman's carry from Vanessa's side of the things. Like she was, kind of across her back, putting some good pressure on her and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, really, the story of this fight is the foul in the end sequence. So I don't know. Was there any? What do you have before that?
I was really thinking Vanessa was gonna be able to withstand everything that Jacqueline had for her, but yes, she did do something illegal. She doesn't even agree she did. There's even a post-fight interview of her saying like, "Whatever, I don't care." And I want to make a point is like, she's a no-gi black belt. Maybe she's not used to having gloves, so like, why would she do like learn this advantage or something? I don't know.
Fuck
Maybe
that. You're
I don't.
That's the Piotr
In
Jan
my point.
defense.
Hey, listen. I don't know if it was too intentional, but she was hooking the shit out of her glove. Now, the point of Vanessa, you can't just sit there and yell at the ref. Like you gotta do your part, defend it. I know you did as best you could, but like it's not the time to sit there and yell ref she's in my glove. She's in my glove. She said it way too many times at that point. Like, we heard you a couple different times.
For sure.
We'll look at it later. I don't think it's going to get overturned, but like, you know.
Nah, I doubt that one will get overturned. So just for anybody who didn't end up seeing the sequence there, basically Amarim had her fingers locked and gripped onto the inside of Demopoulos' glove, which ended up being part of the lead to the fight ending sequence, and all of that, you know, is unfortunate. The ref said that he saw what was going on and said it was a wrist grab. I mean, it was ordered to, you know, get it moved on to the next thing, like, or get the action stopped, or however you want to handle it. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be locked into the moment, roll with what you're given. If you know the referee is going to miss sometimes, that is true. Just you gotta keep going.
Well, it makes me question now. Maybe has Jacqueline done this before? You know, if you don't want to believe this was something, if this was something ill-advised, unintentional, maybe she's been doing this all of her finishes, or at least a couple of them. She's been hooking in some way, and somebody hasn't been saying, like, "Oh, she's hooking me," because like maybe they have too much pride or something. I don't know.
I mean, you'd have to go back and watch some of her stuff. That is a good point, I guess, to see, you know, like if that's part of her sort of, you know, if she's like a Priscilla Cachoeira kind of fighter. I mean, that could be a little bit of a dirty player. But yeah, I mean, regardless, this is exactly what the replay is for. And I just don't fully understand. Like, I think that there needs to be some kind of reform in how they're utilizing it, and like the way that it's handled. I don't know. I guess that's also part of the reason that Demopoulos needed to have been more in the moment to keep herself safe from it, even if it was a foul, is because at least after the fact, if she had made it to the end of the first round, then maybe there could have been something to be done. But if you stop the fight is done. You know what I mean? Like, it's, you know, if you get submitted, if the fight comes to a conclusion, there's no restarting the fight. So it's a tough situation overall. This was not a contact foul. This wasn't an impact foul, so it's a little bit harder to say that it should be overturned or something like that. Really just an unfortunate situation all around is really the only thing I can say about it. I don't know.
Well, this is one of two where the foul or the illegal thing doesn't end the fight, but it leads to the end of the fight.
Right, exactly. It goes into the sequence, and that's what makes it tough. So it's like, you know, if it's starting off the sequence that's going to be fight ending, I mean, theoretically, that should be no contest, right? I mean, and honestly, in Amarim's case, if you really want to fucking be strict as fuck about it, it probably should be a DQ, right? I mean, like, that was an intentional move. I mean, you know, she didn't have to hook her fingers.
Yeah.
She could have, you know, just been keeping them clamped or whatever. I don't know. It's a tough one on this one, man.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but I mean, Jacqueline is still my girl. She's coming in at number 2 on the pound for pound list, so it's just what it is.
For sure. So, yeah, and much appreciated everybody's rocking with us with the problems. Hopefully, it'll stay stable. But I mean, so well, what's in your opinion? Do you think that it played out the way that it should have? I mean, like, how do you think that it should have been handled?
No, the way it should have been handled.
Yeah,
I mean, God damn.
I mean, in a perfect world, we know that the ref would have seen it, stopped it, and then, you know, I mean, maybe taken the position or whatever. Like, there, you know, like that aside, like with the sequence of events happening where she hooked it, it went to an arm bar. That was the start of the sequence. Like, what should happen in that situation? You know,
in a perfect world, or in a non-perfect world, Vanessa Demopoulos would yell. The fight would stop. This is in Vanessa's mind. The fight would stop. Right? They would go to the replay and be like, "Oh, she did hook," and then go back to the position that they were in, and she probably would get subbed later on in the fight. Like, she's just probably not that good at submission defense as much as I would like to prefer. But 11-6, man. I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah, crazy. And I mean, I guess that's also kind of a good point. This happened very early in the fight.
Yeah,
Demopoulos was down off of the first takedown pretty much. Yep. So, you know, it might have been trending that way one way or another. That doesn't make it right or whatever. And also, this is also a good point to bring up in general when it comes to how the fans react to referee decisions. The referee is in a very tough position with something like that, because if he had stopped it and it had not been an actual glove hook, that would have been really bad. Everybody would have been roasting this guy. I mean, fucking Kerry Hatley, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Kerry Hatley stops the fight for a tiny cut. He's getting roasted online. Now, I don't think that was correct. It was not necessarily the right call. However, my point remains is that, these guys take so much scrutiny for every decision that they make as a referee. So you got to cut them a little bit of slack here and there in how you assess their assessments, I guess is my point.
Yeah, and to what Alita's saying is that was what I was bringing up, is she's always got something kind of sketchy going on with her wins. The last one, she had the armbar, the ref said stop, and that wasn't necessarily on her, but maybe she was pulling something kind of crazy that she was doing in this one. We don't know. But hey, she's got all finishes, and she's 9-1 right now, so she's someone to look out for either way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was riding with her going into this fight because her BJJ is just really, really sharp, and I think that was on display yet again. I hope that situations like this do not continue to happen for her, because that would be an unfortunate squandering of such a strong skill set if you're constantly having weird shit. We talk about the narratives of fighters all the time. You do not want to start the narrative that you are the chick who has great BJJ that's always clouded in crazy circumstances. You know what I mean? Don't let that be the precedent that you're setting for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't like Alita saying rooting for her to be champ. I don't know. Champ material is kind of tough. Champ of strawweight.
Yeah, brother. Tough division, and a little early to be throwing that around. You've got to see a little bit more striking out of her from somebody who's going to be able to thwart the BJJ that she's throwing up there. See what her striking's like. But I mean, win. We'll see what happens going forward. I hate that it's clouded in controversy.
100%.
All right, let's move it on here to Yija versus Gabriel Santos. Man, this is one of two of the Road to the UFC winners in Yija. That is the competition in the Asian region of the world to find new fighters for the organization. Santos came in all gas, no brakes. This motherfucker was putting on a goddamn a stunting ass show, dude. I mean, good Lord, this guy was throwing the kitchen sink at him. One thing I wanted to mention is that in the first round, you want to talk about mixing it up? In the first round, one round, he throws the down B Mortal Kombat sweep. He goes for a push kick that sends Yija flying across the cage, and then tops it all off with a front kick a la Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson. I mean, yeah. This guy was pulling out all of the fucking stops. Goes for a takedown, gets it. I mean, like, what can he not do against Yija? And when I talk about this a lot, when you have a blank canvas, I mean, I'm not saying that Yija was completely blank canvas, because he did throw a couple of combos that looked okay. But, over the course of the fight, it was obvious that he was starting to wear. Gabriel Santos took full advantage of having the real estate that he had. I think that he looked amazing in this fight.
Yeah, no, Santos actually looked like a fucking dog in this one. It's kind of crazy to think, because he's coming off 2 L's. This is somebody that you would have to scout out for to pick this. Like, Road to the UFC, obviously we're seeing that the competition is not, great that come out of it. But this dude here, he was showing that he deserves to be in this fucking league. So shout out him, Gabriel Santos, man. He's somebody to look out for, even though we probably should have been looking out for him, because he looks like he's probably been decent for a while.
Yeah. I mean, so you're saying that he's coming off of losses. Who are these losses to here? Let's see.
Lerone Murphy.
Yeah, Lerone Murphy. That's aging well. And Onama. Yeah, okay. I mean, not the greatest, not the worst, but yeah. I mean, this was a really nice performance for him. Also, second round, threw that same front kick that got through again. Yija needs to work on his fucking defense, but that is a tough motherfucker right there, bro. Good Lord. Was this dude taking some damage? I gave him the Chris Mutino award, because he was getting fucking battered in this fight. One thing I also wanted to mention about Santos that I thought was interesting, and I don't know how well it would work for everybody. I definitely don't think it would be really effective at super high levels, but I kind of like the little ground point taunt that he was doing for 2 reasons. One, it's a taunt, I mean, that's cool. He's stunting on him. He's showing the dominance there. But also, I liked it as a slight distraction because like Yija was biting on a lot, like not necessarily biting on feints, but like he was reacting a lot. He was reacting a lot to the damage he was taking, and he was reacting to the point. So I mean, like there are fighters who a little bit of a distraction, you throw your finger down. It's not even really like a feint in the sense that like you're actually going to try to use it as a strike, but it does shift it shifts the attention for a split second there. And honestly, I think he capitalized on it pretty decently. So, again, I don't think it's necessarily going to translate to higher levels, but still, a decent thing to do against a guy who is actually in a bite on it.
Yeah, and he came, Gabriel came in at the favorite, and it definitely showed. This is a fight where you can see a favorite. This is somebody who's gonna win the fight because he was just doing whatever he wanted to. I mean, it was just an easy one for him. And
Yeah.
like you said with that front kick, wow, that like the way he got up is like it's crazy to me that he did because that's a world ender right there. Kick to the chin is like no.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you saw, they only showed it for a brief second, the freeze frame of it, but he had the same face, the Tony Ferguson aging
Yep.
5,000 years face, that of a competition in.
To say that that's what we should have. Maybe tough. Maybe they have their own version of tough. Maybe they come in. Maybe you have how many? I swear we're about to have another season of the Road to the UFC. They could have multiple winners, and they could throw them in a house and do a Road to the UFC like that. That would be kind of cool. I don't know, or a little tough finale, something like that. Because yes, they are just not. They're just not there. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's probably a couple of different ways to get them acclimated a little bit better, but taking them straight out of the I mean, I say that though, but I mean, I think was it Wrongs? I think it was the other guy. I think it was Wrongzu who's the
He was
dude who was.
winning.
Well, I mean, he was training with Uriah Faber. Am I right? It was one of these guys was training with Uriah Faber because he was in his corner.
Either way.
So I mean, it's like you say that they need to go out and get better training or there's a different method here and there, but I don't know. I think it's just once you reach the the big leagues, it's just having everything already in place for these guys sometimes is tough.
Yeah, and well, I said the same thing about the Contender series. Like these guys need a little more something, but it sucks too because like this is the apex. It's like you can't really say like the lights were too bright. It's like there was only 12 people out there watching me, dog. Like this should feel like home, I guess, or something. I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of people out there watching you. Maybe
Yeah,
it
for
shouldn't feel
sure.
like home, but it just is what it is for the Road to the UFC guys. Like we said with the later fight, he did a lot better. This one came in as an underdog. Maybe there was some reasons why, but what it is, what it is.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to Felipe Dos Santos versus Andre Lima. Man, I was riding high on Felipe Dos Santos off of the fight that he had with Manel Kopp, and it was very unfortunate to see him basically get completely picked apart. Well, not picked apart, but like, it just worked. He got outworked by Andre Lima, who, I mean, he's a Muay Thai guy, Lima. So, he does stand pretty flat. I'm like, bro, like you've got a stationary target here. And just nothing that he was doing really was like able to get off the ground. I mean, it to me, this fight here calls into question the skill set of Manil Kopp a little bit. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, that fight was way more competitive.
I just still don't see it with Andre Lima. Like he's
Same.
good, he's winning, but like I can see that somebody's gonna be able to figure this out. Like I'm watching it frustrated that the other person doesn't do something more. Like every time, dating back to the Contender series, I thought he was questionable win. And then his first win in the UFC, the dude bites him. It's like, okay. And up until that point, maybe you weren't even winning that one. And so here we are with this one. You do really good. You get him in a really good choke. There was a really crazy sub that you didn't fucking finish. Which, listen, I don't know what it is. Felipe Dos Santos, shout out you for not going out to that. But Andre Lima, you show good But I think your stand up is gonna get poked holes in.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna run
would
to the
say so
bathroom real
too.
quick. You go on that.
Yeah, gotcha. I would agree with that. I mean, I think that Lima, it's going to be a puzzle that's solvable. I mean, there's really not all that much else to say about this. I pretty much said what I needed to say when it comes to Dos Santos, because I mean, that was the guy that I was riding with higher in this whole thing. I thought that he was way more dynamic in his first fight, or in in the fight with Manel Kopp, his first in the organization. He had gotten called up to the Manel Kopp fight, jumping the Contender series, I believe. Like, so obviously he was doing some good work in his previous fights down there, but it didn't translate. That was crazy that he was able to get out of those chokes. Yeah, I mean yeah, like it is true. I mean like the evasiveness of the that ability was there, but it's like if you don't have the offense to make it well rounded, then you're kind of still leaving yourself open for what ended up happening. So yeah, I mean, there was a couple of times that he was in some tight spots. He was able to weather that, but I did they not have the what was how did that went to decision, right? Why don't they have the where's they
All
don't have
right.
the scores for this one. Hmm.
You know what's crazy is I was
Yeah.
actually about to mention that. Yours doesn't have. Maybe you just need a refresh because
Yeah,
mine is
maybe.
10-0 and it's got the.
Yeah, maybe that
Yeah, there
didn't
we go.
didn't load. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I was
Yeah,
like that was a little weird because yeah, I was to say. I mean, for we were talking about how he got out of a couple of submission attempts, and I mean, it's true. I mean, that was part of the equation. But if you don't have the offense to make that go your way, then you end up with cards like this. I mean, 29-28 even might be a little bit generous. I'd be curious to know which round they gave him.
yeah. It's weird to think like, is Andre Lima good at grappling and is he bad at just finishing submissions, or is not Daniel, fucking Felipe dos Santos, is he just really good at grappling escapes? Like, what is really the true story here? Because if Andre Lima thinks that this is the game that's going to get him a title, it ain't. We got to figure something else out, because if this is the best that you got and you can't sub this guy, brother, you're gonna get pieced up on the feet by Brandon Royval, basically.
Yeah, that is legit for sure. But yeah, I mean that's really all I had to say about this fight.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. What up, Beeb? Um, Rongzu versus Chris Padilla. Now, so I mean, Taco Pad with the
No,
most well
wrong fight.
placed.
Wrong fight.
Oh, shoot! Did I say? Oh, my bad. Shit, I skipped right over Bulgarian versus Marode. Okay, yeah. So I apologize. I mean, it went the fight. Well, no, I guess that is one of the points to make. I was gonna say the fight went by so fast that I missed it, but no. I mean, shout out to what is it? Brandon Murat, for being able to hold out until the second round. But yeah, Isaac Bulgarian versus Brandon Murat.
Yeah, I want to say before the fight started, Elite took a chance on Isaac Dolgarian by KO, and I was really upset at him. I'm not gonna lie. When the fight started, I said, Why didn't you listen to me? Sub or decision, it's a given. He's a grappler. That's all he does." And this dude puts a pounding on him for a round and a half, and I'm sitting there quiet, really hoping that a KO doesn't happen, because if Elite didn't put his money, I would have just lost him a lifetime. Thankfully, it didn't get stopped, even though I do believe it maybe should have. But he ended in a sub, and that's what Isaac Dolgarian does, man. Christian Rodriguez is a fraud. This is the real winner of that fight. That's all I gotta say about that too.
For sure. Yeah. So Bulgarian was the largest betting favorite in UFC history.
Aren't
Um,
they always these days? Like,
yeah, I mean, this is something that we've mentioned a couple times on this show, is that these odds are starting to get a little bit of inflation, to mirror our current economic situation here in the United States.
right?
Uh, that being said, I mean, this was, I mean, really did kind of live up to it. I guess Marat, that was the note, is that it was kind of amazing that he was able to get out of the first head and arm choke. That's the one I was talking about a little earlier. because that one looked like it was pretty well secured. Ended up getting the head and arm in the second. So I mean, it's the same conclusion. Unfortunately, complete domination for Dolgarian.
Was it the same choke?
I mean,
Or
it
the
was
same sequence kind of deal?
pretty much, yeah. I mean, a slightly different position, but yeah, pretty well. That's actually kind of an interesting point, is that it looked like the first head and arm was a better angle for it because he already had the legs swung out to the side.
Mm-hmm.
This one, he did not have the legs swung out to the side. Even Dom on commentary had said, "Oh, all he needs to do is just hop the other leg and get to the side." He didn't end up needing to. He was just on top, almost straight down. So, yeah, but pretty much the same.
Yeah, I think I want to say this is somebody. Hold on, let me just double check before I speak. This is somebody, and I talked about these people coming from Contender Series with really low records. This Isaac Dolgarian dude did not come from Contender Series. He's been in the UFC for 3 fights, and he's 7-1. Isn't that weird? Where did he come? Who scouted this guy out? Like, where did he? Like, what factory was he made in? Because this guy's good. He's really good.
He could have been a collegiate wrestling type of deal, something like that, or a crazy amateur record or something. But yeah, no, it's for sure. Obviously, somebody saw the spark in him, and they were absolutely correct.
You know what's funny? I said what factory is he made in? His team is Factory X Muay Thai.
Factory X. There you go. That is funny. But yeah, I mean, look, Dolgarian putting on a goddamn show, living up to the ticket. I mean, that's one of those philosophical kind of betting questions. It's like, with that kind of a price tag, do you throw money at it and like just be okay with the short money? I mean, I always have to throw a little bit of straight on the dog, just because it's because I think that Marat on my book was like a plus 1100 or something like that.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Sometimes those will cash, very rarely. We'll talk about the Contender Series in a little bit here,
Going to grab you.
Yeah. Sorry, we're just...
No, yeah, I see it. Yeah, it's buffering.
It's all kinds of issues today, man. Anyway. Yeah, no, Dolgarian, it's a great example of a guy who's going to start off out the gate like a bull in a china shop. You can't wait and expect guys to have those couple of seconds of feel outs, man. There are these guys that shoot off like a piston. You mentioned Tatsuro. I would say that that guy Kazuya was another one just recently, who I forget who he was fighting, but it was a couple of Apex cards ago. Came out the gate just like a bat out of hell, and didn't stop for a second. So
was it the really buff guy?
No, he was he's from Japan, and I forget who. I'd have to go back and look, but I just remember him putting on an insane amount of pressure from the very, very start of the fight, and sometimes that's what you're going to be dealing with. So you really got to be aware at all times that you're not going to get those couple of seconds of feel out. Not everybody's going to want to try to poke out the distance and see range and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, Dolgarian's the type of guy to go out there and start off strong and keep it going the entire fight. Good cardio, so
100%. Yeah, I'm very excited to watch him fight in the future. I've been a fan ever since that first fight with Christian Rodriguez, and I'm telling you, he didn't lose that fight. So whatever you want to say is cool, but this dude's coming he should be 8-0 right now.
Yeah,
keep that in mind.
Exactly. Yeah, something to keep in the back of your mind for sure. All right, now on to Rongzhu versus Chris Padilla. As I said, taco pad. Really not too much else to say about this fight except for that fucking elbow, though.
Yeah, that was actually kind of crazy. It sucks that I think to go back just one step, just to finish the conversation. I think Elite is actually right. Maybe is that the dude you were talking about? Let's go find that out real quick.
Yeah, hold on.
Because we're engaging. No, I don't recognize that name. I knew this guy was winning. Asakura. I think that was
Oh, is it Asakura? Yeah, maybe it is. No, that's a dude in from Ryzen.
No.
Kazama is his name. Yeah. So yeah.
Is this really guy? Buff guy? No. Oh, Elvis Brenner. What the
No,
hell?
yeah. It is not Elvis
What?
Brenner. He is a Japanese dude who does look a lot like Elvis Brenner, though.
That is crazy. Okay. Anyway,
Yeah, who is he fighting though? Because I know that we talked about this one. Yeah, the dude who fought Gregorio last time.
okay. Hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, that was
Okay.
just a recent example of that. I mean, there's plenty of other better examples, perhaps. I mean, fucking Michelle Pajeda is another one.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, back to Rongzu and Chris Padilla. That elbow, wow, was it perfect? It was not only just perfectly placed, perfectly timed, but like it was a 1 in a million shot because I don't think we've ever seen that. That would be something like, oh, UFC worst injuries highlights or whatever kind of deal. But wow, did his eye swell up to the point where he didn't even know what hit him. Like he thought I got poked in the eye. Like it was crazy because when you're watching an elbow come at you, where would the he thought he had fingers on his elbows or something. Like it was crazy. He
Yeah.
got fucked, bro.
I mean, it was possibly the most perfectly placed elbow that I've ever seen. It like to attack the eyeball. I mean, like I don't think I've ever seen that exact impact. I mean, like I don't think that you can plan for that. Like I mean, like as far as shout out to Chris Padilla, to Taco Pad for saying that he was watching the Haggerty versus Superlek fight in one. Which was the inspiration. He said, I mean, student of the game. I'll give him credit for that for sure. It's good to be aware of what other people are doing, and pick up the tricks that might work for you. I mean, I don't think that anybody could have planned for it to land as perfectly. If you watch the replay of it, man, when he landed that, you saw underneath the eyelid the eyeball move. Like it
Yeah.
was so perfectly placed on the ball. I mean, like it was inside the socket, like the nub of the elbow and the eyeball are like about the same size, and it was like right there. You're like a screw in a joint. You know what I mean? Whatever.
Yeah, it was so bad because like it started to bleed. It was like his eye was bleeding and then they stop it and then they didn't show the angle. Like we were just looking at the back of his head. The doctor comes in and like wipes it or whatever. And then you see his eye is literally like the size of a fucking golf ball.
Yeah,
And the
there was no way he
and
was going to be able to open that thing.
well, and what's crazy is like we were maybe thinking like, oh, they're gonna let him do it. Like, oh, they're gonna let him go. And I knew deep down they shouldn't, bro. Like one more punch, I'm really worried like his eye would burst. Like the fact that it continued and like it was even like a I'm gonna keep hitting you type of deal from Chris Padilla. Bro, god damn. That
Yeah,
was brutal.
we got to keep yeah, no pun intended, but keep an eye out for Rongzu just to see if he had any permanent eye damage. Because I mean, like I said, it landed so cleanly on the actual organ itself. I mean, the eyes are
Yeah,
organs,
lower.
whatever. I mean, it's yeah, that could be pretty bad.
Unfortunately, because I do want to keep up with that type of stuff, we'll talk about another fight later with an injury that we see after the fact. But there's a translation error, not translation error, but translation dealio with my guy Rongzu, where I don't know where I would even look to find information on his eyesight, nor be able to translate it like to myself.
I think American MMA will probably pick up on that if it's something. If it's
I,
something dramatic like that, probably.
I would hope, man.
Yeah, we'll see. But I mean, yeah, shout out to Chris Padilla. Really nice, nicely placed elbow. I did think it was kind of funny that he said that he considers himself the best mixed martial artist in the world. And I was like, I don't know if I'd go that far yet, buddy. You're 15-6. But
I do remember that. And because it's funnier is that he was losing this fight. Like he was getting whooped. Like rightfully, Rongzu the favorite. He was doing what he was supposed to do. And like you said, man, that just one timed elbow. Just wow.
yeah,
Crazy.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, the I guess the other note on Rongzu's side, obviously the elbow is the tail of the fight, but I did appreciate that he stayed in the pocket. He was comfortable trading hands. Both of the like that I think is the takeaway unfortunately for both of the guys from the road to the UFC, is that they both were tough. You know what I mean? Like, neither of these guys wanted to not fight. I mean, like, there was no evasion in either of them. That's
Yeah.
why the other dude ended up getting so battered, and that's why he was in range to have that elbow happen. So I mean, they both were advancing. They're both tough guys. It's just a matter of getting the skill set right to hang with the big dogs.
You know what does suck sometimes is like we actually do have to end these fights early. Like sometimes fights will not end the way, you may think the favorite's going to win, but sometimes the favorite is unable, or we would prefer him not to continue. It's
It's
just how it
mixed
goes.
martial arts, man. Anything can happen. It's one of the most unpredictable sports on the planet for that exact reason. That it's a good overarching point of the sport, man. When you're talking about team sports, you've got however many players on the field at any given time. If your running back gets injured, you can swap him in for another guy. I mean, there's a lot of different variables when you're talking about a number of different people all playing the same sport, working towards the same goal. When you're talking MMA, man, it is one on one. One on
Yep.
one with a referee, what I mean, like, and judges. There's all kinds of variables. It's like how, like, in fractions, you've got, like, a large number divided by a smaller number, or whatever. It's like now you've got, like, 3 divided by a couple. It's very the margin for error is much greater in things not going the way that you want them in MMA. It's a lot fewer moving parts, and that can be sometimes very detrimental. So. Unpredictable sport. Just like the perfect segue going into this next fight, Trevor Peek versus Yanal Ashmouz. Man, this motherfucker Ashmouz looked terrible in London, and I mean, how the fuck did I don't, so Elite saying it was a robbery. I don't think it was a robbery necessarily. I just don't understand how Trevor Peek was not able to do anything against this constant pressure machine. Like, bro, like, how do you not account for something like that?
Trevor Peek, as we know, Minecraft Steve is what people call him. I don't know why.
Probably because that square ass head is.
So like we know that he just signed a 5 or a 6 fight deal. 5 fights left. Keep that in mind. He did not get subbed, and he didn't like get he got taken down 9 of 18 times, but think about that. He stopped just as many takedowns as he let happen. There's a plus side to everything. Trevor Peek is learning. He's getting better. It's not like he was able to win, but people would say he was robbed. Look at Elite.
I mean, all right, fair enough, I guess. I think that it was a deserved victory for Ashmouz. The pressure was definitely there for him. I also thought that Ashmouz kept range well. He moves well. So he was able to get out of the striking range of Peek decently. Peek needs to really work on the wrestling a little bit more, though, and also have a plan for when you're in those situations. I don't know.
Yeah, and Trevor Peek, you're one of those meme characters that people like to see you fight because you're funny and goofy, and you make funny highlights. But if you can't win along with that, you're not going to have a place in the organization. And also, you're not even creating those highlights anymore. People get it now. You're just going to throw stupid strikes, and they just got to wrestle with you. Now you're just going to get wrestles because your styles make matchups. So it just sucks to see. But Trevor, I hope you can make a big statement in your next fight. But this one, maybe I don't believe it was a robbery. But shout out Israel, you guys got yourself a crotch sniffer, whatever Elite wants to say.
Exactly. I mean, and all the political stuff aside, of course, obviously, that there's plenty going over there. But, as a Jewish guy, I'd like to see, the representation is nice. I just wish that it was not him. I guess this is how I would describe it.
It's nice to hear that you don't have any bias. I'm not gonna.
No, definitely not. Every fighter is judged off of their performances and them as a person. I'm sure he seems nice enough guy, whatever, that type of thing. But I'm not super impressed by him as a fighter. All right, moving on to a much better performance here. This is Cody Durden versus Matt Schnell. How about the Ninja?
I want to make a point. All right,
I bet you do.
This man, Cody Durden, came in here, right? He obviously must have listened to me talk shit about him once or twice. I don't know if he ever did, and maybe he thinks that we're just like super best friends or something, but I've definitely told him that he got knocked the fuck out last fight. And I said, you need to come out here and make a statement, and I believe in you to come out here and get a finish, knockout preferably. He didn't do that. But what he did was so much better. He got the ninja choke, okay? My favorite submission. And then he went home. Think about this. Think about this. Everybody in the chat right now, think about this. He went home, rested 2 days, took 2 sleeps, got on Twitter and said, I need to follow Chase. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, and I can't explain it to you. But my guy, Cody Durden, we're going to the motherfucking moon. We got to get this bread, brother. Me and you are locked in, twin. I am here for it. Like, bro, good fucking win. My favorite choke. I don't know what did it, and I'm so happy.
Chase says all of that, except the last tweet that he put out about it was basically roasting him again. Like, goddamn, this Cody Durden is a glutton for punishment over here with Mr. Parton, talking all of this shit about this guy.
Listen,
now you're best friends, though.
I didn't even mean it in a bad way, but real shit. I told a lot of people. I said, Cody Durden, UFC fighter, one of my favorite flyweights. Now he follows me, and they said, UFC, and I'm like, I know we don't really know it yet, but now Cody Durden, you have a lot of shoes to fill for the next time I tell these people about what you do. They're going to be like the guy that follows you on Twitter. And I'm going to say, yeah, the guy who just got another finish. Please, Cody Durden, we're going so far up. So many people, asses, boots, foots, we're doing it, brother. Like, I'm telling you, I promise. Welcome to the Hive, Cody Durden.
Welcome to the Hive, indeed. All right, well, let's take it a step back. Yeah, Durden versus Schnell. Tough first round. Matt Schnell was swinging. He was throwing some decent stuff. He didn't have him super rocked or anything, but there were a couple power shots that definitely landed. Also, something to note, on commentary, they said that Durden was coming in on 1 week's notice. Excuse you guys, 4 fucking days notice. So amazing performance for him on 4 days notice. How fucking about that? Made weight too. That's kind of crazy.
It was up. It was bantam.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So they fair enough. All right. So, okay. Yeah. That I guess that's something to note in the whole thing. But I mean, fighting a bantamweight, maybe not a bad idea. Yeah. So, other than that, I mean, that first round was a little bit tough, but he sunk in the ninja choke and he kept on it. Like the ninja choke is a great one for the sequence that followed because Matt Schnell tried to roll out of it. They gator rolled 2 or 3 times, with him trying to escape it. Durden, tough with the hang on, man. I appreciate him sticking with that because when he finally, when Schnell couldn't roll no more, he had the double tap, got the nice win after that. Very, very nice. And it was a nice way to come back after Durden had got knocked down.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a fun fight, especially in the first round. They were swinging, they were slugging it out. But man, when you have somebody tapping like this, like chicken,
got the double tap for sure.
He did his thing, and Cody's not a sub guy. And the fact that Badger got this one right on the nose, I saw you also got the sub not the round. I don't think. I think you missed the round on it.
Yeah,
but either way, Cody Durden's submission is going in my veins like crack right now. Listen, fighter edits coming. He may unfollow me for what I said. He may not understand that it was some hype shit, but I got an edit that is coming for Cody Durden.
All right, there you go. Clip that, send it to him so that he doesn't unfollow.
I got him.
Welcome to the Hive, and see you later from the Hive.
He's in the Hive, bro. He knows.
And then I guess one last thing about this fight. Matt Schnell decided to hang the gloves up.
Yeah, maybe one of 2. I guess maybe we're not sure about the other one. But
yeah, I don't think that the other one is, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But if Schnell does decide to stay retired, I mean, 16-9, the losses are creeping up. Good on him. Tough guy. Obviously thrown with some conviction. nothing necessarily to be ashamed of there, pal. You got caught in, a very nice submission from Durden. It is what it is, and best of luck to him.
I'm just surprised he didn't get knocked out. If Ursay did it, why couldn't Cody Durden? I mean, I get it was short notice, up a weight class, but like maybe the weight drain probably would have had a factor in that. But
yeah, for sure.
Just still good performance. I mean, up until the submission, shout out Matt Schnell. He was doing fine. I don't know. That wasn't like a retirement performance. But
I think that's what was so surprising about it was that it really wasn't like, I mean, like you could definitely tell he was putting it all on the line. He was definitely fighting like. Yeah.
He got subbed by Brendan Royval.
He's had a tough run of it for sure, man.
Why are you getting subbed by strikers, dude? Okay, maybe it is time to hang it up. knocked out by submission artist. Subbed by strikers. This is crazy.
Maybe he's only training for the thing that they're best at, and then these guys find the openings otherwise.
I mean, what is Nicolau good at? Mateus Nicolau, is he a striker or is he a grappler kind of?
I think he's more of a striker.
Okay, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Oh no, okay.
Yeah, dude, this dude doesn't. Oh God, Matt Schnell. God. Okay, yeah. So basically, he only beat Summer Dache basically in his last 5.
Yikes. Well, so maybe the retirement is warranted, but either way,
knocked out by Pantoja. You can't make this up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is a kind of a wild thing. The non-dominant skill set of each of the fighters that he's lost to have been the method of victory.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. But yeah, either way, again, like I said, best of luck to him if he does end up staying retired. Probably not the worst decision. It does suck, but it is what it is.
I mean, PFL will get a good veteran. That's basically what that looks like.
Nah, he might be done. But either way, we'll see what happens. All right, so this is the other more controversial finish from this card. This is Steve Garcia versus Kyle Nelson. One thing before we go into the actual assessment of what happened, I do want to give a quick shout out to Kyle Nelson and his Nelson Family Farms with his high quality Canadian meats, apparently. He must have been eating a lot of those because he missed weight. But I mean, go out and get some high quality meats and poultries and stuff from him. After these loss or just this loss, I think he won his last fight, but obviously he could use a little extra cash at the moment. But that all being said, yeah, what do you think of this finish?
I am sometimes an idiot, and I have my moments where I will go all in on one person, or I'll do some, I'll put a bunch of $1 parlays that are kind of, sporadic of what I think may or may not happen. By the time I got to this fight, most of the parlays had Kyle Nelson by submission or decision, which sucks. But at the beginning of the fight, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Did I cook something here? He's got his back in the first round. Yeah. Steve Garcia, maybe the hype is gone. But oh my God, this dude being a featherweight is kind of scary. Like he might, this is Ilya shit. Like he's just knocking people out like left and right. First round, second round, never even been to a third round or whatever the fuck it's been, or, in 10 years or 5 years. This dude's, he's something.
Yeah, he's a beefy featherweight for sure. Nelson is a big featherweight himself. Yeah.
Like, bro, these are fucking I'm watching welterweights. This was a weird card because even with the flyweights, back to Andre Lima and fucking Dos Santos, them dudes are fucking 25ers. Are you kidding me? Like, it's crazy to me. So yeah, same thing with this one. These dudes are ridiculous for the weight class. And Henry makes the point all the time that just in today's UFC, people are a lot bigger, just than what they ever were.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was going to be a note. Garcia slipped himself into a back control situation or got tripped, whatever. Did a nice job of turning his body to escape it and then escaping the armbar thereafter. So a decent show of awareness from Garcia. That does bring us to the elbow to the back of the head, which was very unfortunate. Way more so, I think, than the glove grab in the Demopoulos fight. It's another one of those situations where it was quick. It was a scrambly situation. The guys were, both in motion at the time. Nelson was kind of trying to, do an evasive move of his head, and Garcia was throwing the elbows like he's supposed to. So it's, this was absolutely an unintentional one. If this was to be overturned, it would definitely be a no contest, I would think. I mean, it should be, because it was not something that Garcia was trying to make happen. It just was in the course of the fight. It's one of those things that you can't predict the alignment of those two things at such a quick speed. That being said, it was the lead up to the fight ending sequence. There was a time thereafter where Nelson was on his back and his corner was beckoning him to get up, and it didn't look like he was really able to get himself, or he didn't really go for it. I think he was probably trying to take a little bit of time to get his wits about him. So the back of the head shot might have been pretty bad. You saw the knot that welted up on the back of his head from it. It was definitely an impact shot. Should it be overturned? I would say it probably should be, honestly.
It's a crazy sequence, like you said, because it wasn't the fight ending sequence. Like the back of the head shot that everybody was talking about happened, a couple seconds.
It wasn't the exact one, but it did lead up into it thereafter, because Nelson stayed on the ground after it. So yeah, you're right. I guess you can say it broke it up. I mean, it wasn't in the same set of motions, but I mean, it allowed him to get to the sequence, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah, so then you have Kyle sitting like basically, upright against the cage, and then more elbows come, and then you see him just like fall over kind of deal. So it was crazy. I mean, Steve Garcia, you don't see people like it's crazy to me that people don't knee an elbow more in this sport. It's like you have a solid like bone right here that like they don't really see coming because it's not a fist or a foot. Steve Garcia is taking full advantage of it. Shout out to this motherfucking Steve Garcia, man. He is getting finishes after finishes.
Bro, yeah. I mean, the streak continues for Steve Garcia. I mean, the longest active knockout streak in the UFC currently.
Yeah.
That just adds to it. But, yeah, I mean, again, unfortunate because of the circumstances. But, I mean, yet another one where it's like, we can speculate. We don't know for sure, of course, but it might very well have been going to that point, because I mean, Garcia, the thing that I would say about him is that he is composed until it is the exact right time to not be composed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like he keeps very calm. You saw it in his last fight. The dude he was fighting last time, I think it was the Korean guy. He was really trying to lay some leather on him. Stayed with it, not a problem, wait it out, get the distance, do whatever you needed to do, and then when it was time to unload, bang, bang, bang. Same in this fight really as well. He stayed composed when he needed to. He was in a situation where his back was being controlled, I mean, that could have been pretty bad for a second. Said, no, I'm just going to, wait this out. Found the exact right moment to turn his body. Once he did that, all fireworks. I mean, so I really appreciate this guy's style, because sometimes you're like, where's his head at? You see these guys that are like a little bit like too composed sometimes. You know what I mean? It's like you're like, you stop taking pictures, as DC would say. You got to be more active. No, this Steve Garcia has the exact right ratio of composition to aggression, and I think it's really showing in his fights currently. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, we talk about everybody, in the community. Shout out the Base Goddess once again. She gave me the Steve Garcia nod. She knew all along. In his last fight, she said, I don't know what it is, but I believe Steve Garcia can do it. And he went out there, knocked him out. Here we are 2 fights later. He's still knocking dudes out. I'm with it. I'm on the Steve Garcia hype train.
I mean, now is the exact time that Steve Garcia needs to be getting some higher level competition. It's going to be interesting to see what happens at featherweight with some of these guys who are a little bit tougher in the chin. I mean, that's that. I mean, not that was this fight, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, with other guys with the elbows, I do think that the elbows meta is starting to come into its own in the organization and in general. I think that because I was saying that a lot earlier too. like I could remember saying that like maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, something like that, being like, man, some of these guys use elbows really nicely. They do so much. It's like it's a blunt part of the body. It can cut you, because it's kind of a sharp a part of the body as well. Why don't more guys do it? And now you're starting to see it a little bit more effectively. So
You know what's crazy is yes, first she is up on the pound for pound list, not Natalia Silva. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it is crazy to think that people are still not using elbows as effectively as they could be after John Jones has used it for 20 years. Like, it is crazy to me. Like,
yeah,
learn from the best.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, soon, actually next month, the 12 to 6s will be legalized. So, then John Jones will have free reign to be using them things again. But actually, just I had mentioned it on the Sunday stream, but I'll tip the hand here too. I got a video about John Jones coming out this week, so keep your eyes on the channel. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how much more elbows are used effectively. But we're going to talk about the Contender series here in a minute. I keep going back to it because I liked it so much. Andreas Gustafsson in close range with those elbows. That should be the new meta for sure.
Yeah.
When you're in that clinch situation, especially if you're the taller guy, bro, bang those elbows, everybody. Please use your weapons.
100%.
All right, moving on to Jessica Andrade versus Natalia Silva. Man, I dogged Andrade coming into this fight. I have to say, I felt bad for her because you could tell she really was putting a lot of effort into this losing affair.
I want to say that I called this pretty on to the point. She Silva was going to stay at range and just point her up the entire time. Mm-hmm. It sucks that Andrade didn't get to make it a closer fight because I was losing a lot of money and I was losing a lot of bets, and it was coming up to this plus 230 dog on Andrade, and I'm thinking, oh brother, she can knock her out, man. She can do it. She's done it like 20 times before. She can do it, and she didn't. But she was close. There was times where Silva like tried to trade with her. And I was thinking those were the moments like, oh my gosh, she might actually get dropped or something. And maybe here's the money that I should have put down. And thankfully I didn't. So that's just how it is.
For sure. Silva is really nice off the back foot because Andrade controlled the center nearly the entire fight. Like, I was very impressed with her ability to not, like, it wasn't like she was getting walked down. She just stayed against the cage a lot. I mean, like, she was just, letting the octagon be controlled. And she just did a lot of nice things at close range. I mean, those kicks that she was throwing at close range were very nice. Her Taekwondo style, I didn't realize that she was primarily Taekwondo. That showed very nicely in this fight. Clean technical striking. She's very much a fast twitch kind of fighter. She's a little jittery in there. Just as her, like in her motions, but it worked out well for her. Nice spinning kicks, and I was able to teep a little bit, just to keep a little bit of range, and everything was clicking for her. She landed more. Andrade was throwing heavier, but landed fewer, I guess is the better way to say it.
Yeah. Silva's speed is pretty crazy, but I'm just curious to see what she's gonna do against a grappler. We can see anybody with this Taekwondo shit. We saw Rebellis, man. I don't give a fuck about Taekwondo until I see him against a grappler. If Waldo Cortez Acosta is holding you down, Natalia Silva, you might get held down by Lemos. I don't know. And who knows?
You make a good point. But yeah, in this strikers affair here, the one thing for Andrade that was nice, she landed a really nice Superman punch at the end of the first round. I thought that was pretty impressive. I might have given her that first round at 30-20 or 27-30s across the board seemed a little bit harsh, but yeah, I mean, overall this was a dominant victory in those, at the very least in those last two rounds, if not all three, for Natalia Silva. So nice performance.
Yeah, she's fast. She's got some fast hands. She's got some fast moves, but this is somebody that we kind of knew that was just going to just stand in front of her and throw meaty hooks and walk her down. This was maybe just like a picture perfect matchup for her to have. But it was good. She does come in at number 2 on the pound for pound list. Yeah, she's good. Or no, that's Jacqueline. Excuse me. maybe Natalia's number 4.
Yes, when he says pound for pound, this is Chase's ladies pound for pound here
of
that
course.
he enjoys. So, just a heads up to anybody thinking that she's pound for pound on the actual rankings list.
She comes close.
I mean, I was going to say she's. I believe that I heard that she's 5-0 or 6-0 now in the UFC, but 12-0 in her last 12 or something like that. I mean, like she was coming in off of a couple wins coming into the organization and is currently undefeated, I believe. So
that is true. And you want to know who broke up her original win streak? I guess it would be 16-0 or whatever. Marina Rodriguez.
How about it? All right. Well, there you go.
That she's coming back for some blood here.
Hey, that there's a storyline for you. Could appreciate that. Cool. Well, yeah, good honor, and keep it going. I mean, those are the types of performances, especially over a former champion. That's the kind of stuff that people take note of. So, perhaps there's an eliminator fight coming up for her at some point in the future. All right, moving on to the main event. Sean Brady, Gilbert Burns. What a complete domination from Mr. Brady. I gave him all 5 rounds.
Yeah, oh no, for sure. I did too. And this is exactly what I thought was going to happen. It was more competitive with the wrestling than I thought it was going to be. I thought Brady was going to lay on top of him for most of the fight. I didn't think Burns was going to have as many exchanges as he did. But Sean Brady won every fight. And this also, we were talking about how, they're a lot bigger now than they were. The fighters, that is like these are 2 very clunky welterweights compared to, say, Ian Gary, Leon Edwards, Kevin Holland. Even like these are Jeff Neal wrestlers. Like this is so it was kind of, that was my only point against. It was a real sluggy fight, but it was fun mixed martial arts. They were doing a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Run to the bathroom again.
Yeah. So I mean, one thing that I had in the notes is that it was pretty funny that they traded nut shots. I thought that was interesting. Gilbert got kicked in the nuts, took a little bit of time, came back. Sean Brady returns fire. This is the way that I put it on the watch along. I thought that was pretty funny. I mean, really not too much else to say about the actual like nuts and bolts of the fight itself. What I think about Gilbert is that he's one of those guys, and it's unfortunate when it's this way, but he's just one of those guys that has always been right at the cusp of greatness, but never truly achieved it. And at 38 years old, I think that, it's pretty well said and done on, aspirations for a belt or anything like that. Chase made a good point that Brady is, clunky is probably a good way to put it. Very grindy in the wrestling. A lot of clinch action, but still, a good amount of activity. And that's what I talk about a lot when it comes to those clinch situations is like, you get the clinch, now what? And I think that Brady actually had some answers for that question. So, I thought that it was overall pretty decent. And shout out to my boy Chase Parton as he returns to the stream, because I thought that his prediction was pretty well done. I watched his short. Make sure you subscribe to my boy. He puts out prediction videos, and I thought that some of the stuff he said, it might not have been the exact method that he put forward, but what he had said in that prediction was that Brady's knockout by Bilal, I mean, on the feet, it's like, come on, that maybe there's something, that shouldn't lead you to believe that that's where he's at. And I had said that all the time leading up to this fight. People were asking me about it in the chat on some of the other streams. Brady got knocked out by Bilal. I can't believe by Bilal. That was the narrative. I'm like, that knockout is not representative of Sean Brady. The 16-0 before the knockout was more representative of the one knockout than the one knockout. So
I will say he is lucky that Bilal is champion, because then, yes, I will maybe agree that getting knocked by Bilal is kind of bad. But, whether you want to say that or not, Sean Brady did what he had to do. He's maybe not he's maybe not a finisher, but like, if he wants Ian Gary, I mean, fuck, I want to see somebody call out Ian Gary and actually have confidence that they'll beat him. Like
That's right.
not wait for him to call the shot and say I'm fighting this guy and I'm gonna punk him. Like,
One thing to throw into the equation, Ian Gary recently in the headlines yet again for his constant relationship issues. I mean, dude, the Ian Gary video is going to be incoming, and people have asked me why I haven't done the Ian Gary video already. The reason I have not done the Ian Gary video is exactly because of things like what was just in the news, him serenading his wife because she kicked him out of the house or whatever the fuck. There is more to be told is the reason that I have not done it yet. I want to be able to do the Ian Gary omnibus video at some point where we go over all of this ridiculousness between the two of them. And I am not fully convinced that that relationship is going to work. I like if they, and I like, look, I'm not trying to say that his family needs to be broken up, anything like that. Obviously, wish the guy, a happy life with his lady if it's working for them, which for whatever reason it seems to. But the amount that they put out into the public eye, it's just I can't imagine that being sustainable in a working relationship for the rest of their lives. So we will see what ends up happening there. That's just a little bit of an aside. Anyway, he called out Ian Gary. Sean Brady did. I like that fight. I think Elite's right, though. I don't think that Ian Gary's biting on anything like that right now as he's continuing to surge up to the top. But, yeah, I'm just an interesting little side note, I suppose.
yeah, I don't know. Going forward, it is going to be interesting. I think Bilal is going to try to swing his way and to get an Usman fight. I don't know. Don't ask me why I think it. I couldn't really give you an explanation, but I think that's some slimy way he'll do to try to not fight Shavkat. He's already showing signs of not wanting to do it, but that's just me.
Well, if that happens, I would be the first person to light the torches and grab the pitchforks because Shavkat is fucking next, and he has been next for a while at this point. I mean, honestly, the only reason that Shavkat has not been hotshotted is because he doesn't speak English. That's in my mind anyway. I mean, if he was even a fraction, if he was fucking had the charisma of Sean O'Malley, he would be in the title conversation in my
all
opinion.
he really needs to do is say Shama. I mean,
Yeah, really good point. Yeah, and I mean, I guess that is also maybe a factor is that he's not getting knockouts, as often or whatever. I mean, he's
finishing.
he's finishing every fucking fight. He's only finishing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I gotta believe that's really the star power aspect of it as opposed to the performances with Shavkat. But if that does happen, yeah, that would be an absolute a miscarriage of justice. But we'll see what ends up happening there. Yeah, there's a lot. We talk about the changing of the guard. I mean, welterweight, I wouldn't necessarily say is in exactly the same position as some of the other divisions with like the newer guys kind of overtaking and whatnot, because that there has been some bigger shakeups. But it's good to see some motion in the division now, and it really is going to be a matter of who can overcome Bilal's wrestling. I mean, that's at the end of the day, love him or hate him, he is winning his fights. Mr. Unanimous Decision King.
It is weird when we always talk about styles make matchups, and then you look back and you're like Bilal Muhammad and Sean Brady. It's like those dudes fight the exact same. They just wrestle you until like they punch you and then they I don't know. Actually, I want to make a point. Sean Brady did really good at this. He was setting up his striking up until Burns was shelling up, waiting for the exchanges, and then he was immediately grappling. There was no hesitation. It was immediately shoot for the double leg as soon as Burns puts his hands up to guard his face. So it was really nice. It was a good performance.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very glad that this gets the course corrected for Sean Brady. We talk about the narratives. I think that the Bilal knockout was looming over him in a way that was not representative of who he is as a fighter. This is a great course correction against a title challenger,
100%.
So, all right. So that's Burns versus Brady UFC Fight Night. A decent card overall. I enjoyed it. I mean, we got some decent information here. After my watch along streams, I always ask the question, what did we learn here? I think that what we definitely learned from this card is keep your money away from the road to the UFC guys until that market becomes a little bit more viable, especially with the men. If they ever did a women's version of the road to the UFC, I think that you'd have a lot more success there. So
Yeah.
that's a point. Natalia Silva, possible title challenger at some point in the near future, and Gilbert Burns, man, it's what I said when you were away at the restroom. Is that Gilbert Burns? He's one of those guys that was just always on the cusp of greatness and really never was able to fully realize it. And I think that his time is coming. So, and also to touch on that point, you'd asked earlier, like one retirement, possibly two. The fact that we're even asking the retirement question about Gilbert Burns kind of says everything that you need to know. You know what I mean?
True.
So,
True.
we'll see what ends up happening with him going forward. All right, so let's take a step back in time here. Go to the Contender Series from Week 4. This was a really fun one, man. I enjoyed this Contender Series a lot. Didn't get the chance to go back and rewatch all of these, so I'm not as familiar with every single one of them, but I know that you watched them a little bit later than they air, so perhaps you can refresh my memory on some of these fights.
Dude, this first fight, Gage Young and Quillen Salkid, wow, great fucking fight. Like these dudes, Gage Young came in with a really good story, from like being I believe it was like I don't want to say, I don't know. It was a good story that he had, and he came in here and put on a great performance that would have won against anybody other than a fucking dog like this dude Quillen from Australia. He was just on point with everything. Like he just didn't slip up at all. There was no moments for Gage Young to take, control of the fight. Maybe he had his moments, but like in all, Quillen, he was dogging.
For sure. And Elite, thank you very much for hanging out with us, bro. Thank you for sticking around through all of the stream issues and everything. We appreciate you, bro. Have a good night. Yeah, no, I do remember that because this fight, someone in the chat had said that Gage was the guy to watch out for. So I was like, oh, okay, let me keep an eye on this. But yeah, no, Salkild was really doing a nice amount of work here, man. I mean, did end up going to decision, but it was a really nice performance from Salkild all the way through. I mean, 29-28s on two cards. I think that a 30-27 might have been a little bit more appropriate. I don't know which round they would have given Young because a lot of times, from what I recall, this was another situation where Young was finding himself getting touched and then going to clinch up to neutralize that, but then not having the next step in mind. That's always the thing. This is a fundamental thing in MMA, especially for some of these guys coming in on the Contender Series that are newer to their careers. You have the game plan laid out in your mind. If this happens, this is what I do. If this happens, this is what I do. You know what I mean? Like it's a matter of knowing what the next step is because you're not going to get your way 100% of the time. And Salkild was able to capitalize on all of that because he had a better, stronger game plan for those situations.
100%.
For sure. All right, so good win there. Even better win here. This is what was her first name? Is it
Yonesi? Yonesi?
Yeah, I thought is it yeah, Yonesi. Yonesi Dubin.
Yonesi, I think that's right.
Yeah, versus I believe it's Samantha Clark. Shannon, sorry. So yeah, Yonesi Dubin, a plus 1,100 underdog on my book. Now, so this is a point for everybody watching out here. We talk about, who you should bet on and when. My mantra when it comes to the Contender Series is short money, always on the dog. I don't care who it is. I don't care what the numbers look like for the Contender Series and the Contender Series alone. Short money, straight bets, always on the dog. This was the best example of why you do that. They have her as a plus 900. Mine was plus 1,100. Best
Dana
money
was
I ever made.
Plus 1,300 is what Dana was saying, a 13-1 or whatever.
Yeah.
Let me go on my rant here.
Sure.
Venezuela is my new homeland. I can't believe that they make women like this down there. If I knew that they came like this out there, I want you to make a note. You look at this right here. It says victory by punch. She didn't beat her into oblivion. No, she knocked her into a new fucking dimension. At a
It's true.
minus 1800, she's built like Kayla Harrison. She came out here with no skills, no inventory at all on her character. And Eunice Dubin put her in the fucking shadow realm, put her in the dirt, like one punch. She even went in for the second one. She missed it. Thankfully, it wasn't. She was about to land the hammer of Thor on the second one, bro. She's a beast. She's my new favorite fighter. She comes in at number 3 on the pound for pound list. She jumped way above the rankings after that knockout. She's a dog.
For sure. She is indeed from Venezuela, the home country of Juliana Pena. And I
They look
remarked that
just like.
they
Wow, they
actually
look.
look very much alike. So if that is a facial structure that
Wait a minute. What
appeals,
the hell? That can't be right.
but
Because they said Piera something, whatever the fuck her name is the only other Venezuelan in the league. It couldn't be Julia. It couldn't be Julia Pena.
yeah, no, I mean Juliana Pena is the Venezuelan vixen, if I'm not mistaken.
What? No way.
I mean, research away, but I'm fairly certain.
I mean, she is Mexican Venezuelan descent. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. That's
Yeah. Okay.
is
Interesting.
that not
Interesting
her,
that they.
her nickname?
I mean,
Yeah, Venezuelan vixen.
That's what the banner showed. I don't know. Maybe
that you can appreciate, then perhaps that's a country to, take a visit to sometime.
Yeah, she's a beast.
For sure, yeah, and like you said, straight punch did it. That was, that was really the story of the fight. I mean, overhand just bombed her.
It wasn't even just the overhand. There was a level of knowledge. Well, doesn't matter. And like he said, it doesn't fucking matter. I want to see her next fucking week. Put her on Noche right now. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I mean, she took 0 damage, so I mean, why not throw her in there? Our hairstyle and
no, they were saying Raul Rosas.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess well, our friend Carissa was hanging out with us watching these fights, and apparently this is somewhat of a. Obviously, he did his thing, so good stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think for this one I feel like this, but at least for the next two, I feel all you got to do is win. And like you're gonna get a contract, brother. Like they need people in these divisions. So like this next fight, I will say being told to look out for Will Curry and then knowing that he did not do good at all, going back and rewatching just how bad he actually was. Like, bro, talk about emotes only in the inventory. This dude is terrible. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, we were just talking about Fletcher earlier, and the new wave of English fighters.
They're saying it.
Curry kind of harkens back to the older version of English fighters we were talking about. A little bit slow and not much output. And Santos did his thing. I mean, still went to decision though, so obviously somewhat of a tough guy. But I mean, it was there was nothing doing. 30-27 is absolutely accurate.
I felt I was watching commentary from DC after the fact, because the fight started and then DC was like, it's going to be interesting to see him move off the back foot. Will Curry cannot do a single thing off the back foot. He is just not good off the back foot at all. And then the whole fight, you just watch him off the back foot doing nothing. It was
for sure. All right. And then the final fight.
This was a style. This was styling out.
Dude, I mean, they were touting Cavalcante. This is a Co versus Cavalcante. They were saying how Cavalcante came in 9 finishes, 9-0 with 9 finishes, and obviously the huge Fro gives him a little bit of patting on the head. Oh fucking well, because he got completely defeated.
Yeah, it looked like Co figured out that he could take his best shot, and he was like, all right, well, now it's time for me to win the fight. I mean, you're not going to knock me out in the first round like you've done the other 9. So
yeah, that is
easy does it.
Absolutely accurate. So, solid performance for Co. I mean, this is, a guy that I would think that should probably be taking some decent low welterweight competition early because I thought that he was pretty well rounded overall. I mean, like I liked how he was moving on top of everything. He seemed like based off that fight alone, I mean, obviously Contender Series is not an accurate assessment of how they will look inside of the organization. I thought that he looked like he might have a decent fight IQ based off of that fight.
100%.
So good stuff there. And that was week 4 of the Contender Series. I will be back tomorrow. Good Lord. A lot of streaming going on. Oh, we're doing it over at Vitz King's house. Hopefully we won't have any of the problems we're having fucking here. But we'll be back watching the Contender Series live when that airs. And then Chase will do an additional watch along thereafter. So you can watch it with us. You can watch it with Chase thereafter. Let's take a quick look at next week. We've got Noche, UFC 306 coming up.
What is Riyadh? What is Riyadh? I have
that is Riyadh, my dude.
Whatever it is, like last year I had to learn what Noche is. I still don't even know what Noche is. Now they're giving
American school system.
And now they're giving me new words to learn. Now they got both of them listed too. UFC 306 Riyadh season Noche, UFC O'Malley versus like holy shit, like brother.
Yeah, that is Riyadh. Riyadh is the capital of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia. Yep, the Saudi Arabia is very instrumental in promoting and funding a lot of the fights that we're seeing nowadays. So the strengthening of the UFC Saudi Arabia relationship
Mexico continues. Card? What the fuck do they have the Saudis involved?
Well, I'll tell you why they have the Saudis involved. They have the Saudis involved because that fucking sphere is so goddamn expensive. That thing is a money pit, bro. Like, so I had heard recently, we're talking about this on the Contender Series watch along. Apparently the sphere is like hemorrhaging money at the moment. Now, it's not unusual for something of that magnitude. That thing cost like over $2 billion to make. I mean, like that is a crazy investment. All things considered, I mean, that's still crazy. Even like, take Las Vegas into consideration, all the LEDs and all the blah, 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 all the technology. It's still crazy. Over $2 billion, almost 2.5, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's like 2.3. So all of that being said, it's not unusual for something of that magnitude to take some losses, but their CFO did resign not too long ago. So I don't know how that factors into everything. Either way, the point is that this the sphere is having a lot of criticism in general because of the ticket prices. And I suspect that all of those are the factors as to why you see what you see as far as Riyadh and everything else. Now, I don't know where it's at now. I mean, it had been all of the discussion was surrounding if it was going to sell out because the tickets are so expensive. I don't know if it's moved a little bit closer to that. Hey, Anakin MMA, thank you very much for following, brother. Appreciate you. But I don't know where it's at now with all of that. But it's it's hey, chiwi. I need to get that. That's actually what I want to be the sound that plays for the subscribers. I need to get a good clip of that. Thanks for reminding me. So yeah, I don't know if that's actually the reasoning or not, but all I know is that the sphere has been a financial problem for quite a while, and we'll just have to see in the future how things work out. I also did find out, a shout out to Kevin Ioli, one of the best reporters in the game. I read an article that he did giving a little bit of a preview of some of the technological aspects of it. One thing that they're possibly going to be doing is after this event concludes, they might be taking the main card and having that as a video that they will be showing in the sphere thereafter, just to like people who attend the normal daily operational stuff of the sphere. So I thought that was pretty fucking cool. I think all of those things I just said about like the sphere with the financial aspects of everything, I say all of that to say that I am glad that the UFC is doing this now. I don't know what the future is going to be like for the sphere, but the sphere is a crazy technological achievement. As a person who works in like areas of tech, I'm very impressed by the sphere from a technological standpoint. So I think that it's going to be great. I would love to go out to, I want to go to Vegas for obviously many reasons, but I would love to be able to go watch the main card in the sphere on the sphere screens after the fact. So there's going to be a lot of cool tech going on in all of this. There's going to be a lot of things that we have not seen before in MMA, or in live sports in general, I guess is, really what it's looking like. So we're going to have to see what ends up happening with it. But anyway, that's a long-winded way of kind of explaining why we're at where we're at.
Yeah, 100%. We don't even know if it's gonna work out. I mean,
Hey,
it might be interesting. It might be fun. Dana doesn't seem too confident that it's gonna be the greatest viewing experience, I guess, from most recent interviews. It just sounds like
what?
might you yeah, you haven't seen that? He's like, I
Oh
mean,
well, okay, yeah, I know
we're
what you're
not gonna
talking
know
about. Yeah.
until it goes on. Like, I guess he's right. So
Yeah, well, because I think that he was talking about in reference to them playing things on the screen, which I was like, I hope that they're not going to be playing graphics while they're actually fighting. I think that
oh,
that would be,
advertisements just all over it,
yeah,
just
really, right,
circulating.
for real. Just to see Bud Light just flying past their heads. Good lord. Yeah, no, I mean, well, I guess we'll just have to see is right, but I do know that the magnitude. I highly recommend that Kevin Iole article if you're interested in some of the back end stuff of how this is working out, because it's an extremely complex technological event. Like they have to have two crews in order to have the walkouts be correct, and all kinds of things have to be in place for this to go off correctly. So we're all just gonna have to find out together. But that's why this is very exciting, regardless of what you think of the quality of the card itself, because people are a little bit critical of Mr. Sean O'Malley as to how he's been selling fights. I don't know. But one thing before we move on, shout out to Pick'em MMA for recommending the channel. Thank you, brother. Much appreciated, and welcome to all of the Raiders. Welcome, welcome. So yeah. So anyway, let's break down some of these fights. We can start off a little bit lower. We got, wow, is this really opening the card?
Yeah, it's
That's
been like that for
crazy.
the longest time.
I did
But
not know that that was the
but I
case.
mean, you got to get the Mexican fans in there. It's like they all want to see Raul Rosas Jr.
Well,
So
for the fucking price of a ticket, I would think that they're going to be there 8 hours early and should be served food. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, but no. So starting off strong with Raul Rosas Jr. taking on Ariki Long. I mean, I think that this is a good, a good fight. Honestly, I think Ariki Long is one of those guys that's been, like he's never really reached the fullest potential. He's not necessarily like super elite competition. I think this is a favorable matchup for Rosas. He's still tough though, so it might be one of those deals where he could come out and swarm a little bit. I would like to see an early start from him. That would be a very, very strong showing from him if he does that, because I think that Raul Rosas Jr. This kid is like, you talk about people improving fight over fight. You're seeing what happens when you start out at the age that Rosas started out as. I mean, like, I thought that his loss was the perfect thing to happen when it happened. It happened early on. Comes in Contender Series, loses his initial fight as a learning experience. Now you're seeing the fruits of the continued labor. Like, the kid is just getting better and better, and against a guy who is tough like Ariki Long, I think that he's going to have a pretty good time in there. So I think Ariki Long's biggest strength will be if he overwhelms him early.
I think this is exactly what we're looking at. This is the first fight of the Sphere. This is for the Mexican crowd. They want to come see Raul Rosas Jr. do what he does best and submit this guy just like he's supposed to. I mean, minus 900, this is one of these guys that doesn't go to decision. Like, this is not a Tom Nolan situation. This is Raul Rosas Jr. is going to come out here and in one round finish this fight. So that's what we got.
All right. Well, that bold prediction. We'll see if it ends up happening. I absolutely would take Raul Rosas. I mean, minus 900 says it all. I think that that's entirely accurate. And what I think is going to be really interesting is, when do we see the major jump up in competition? Because, early on with the narrative, we are constantly talking about the narrative. The narrative would have been that, you hotshot this kid a little bit. He gets a really nice win on the Contender Series. If he had won his first fight, where, like they might have really hotshotted him a little bit earlier. He did not win his first fight. They had to scale back the competition a little bit because they knew that he is a good fighter, but needed a little bit of time to come into his own. Now that he's starting to come into his own, if he wins this fight, which he has a very good shot of doing, when does the bump up really start for him? How many more fights are we going to need to see before we see him against some ranked competition, is I guess the question.
I mean, he's still so young. It's like you can question it to a point, but He's 19 years old. If he doesn't face great competition until he's 22, it's like, maybe okay. I mean, that's fine. He's a young guy. Like, I wouldn't even mind it if they just keep signing him and let him rack up wins. I mean,
Oh,
if
same.
he's finishing them, like that's
Yeah,
fine with
absolutely.
me.
No, totally. And that's the thing about hot shotting in general is that sometimes you end up in a situation where it works out really, really well, and sometimes you end up in a situation where it completely fails. I mean, there have been other times where guys who are supposed to be these huge phenoms, completely fizzled out really, early on in their tenure. So, I think that this storyline for Raul Rosas Jr. is working out perfectly fine. I also would not be mad if they kept him just kind of gaining experience, gaining his skill set a little bit more, and just kind of let him progress normally. It's really just a matter of what the organization wants to do, and I think that the early push might have been a little bit too much for him, but now he's showing that this is certainly where he wants to be. So.
Facts. And obviously minus 900 tag is pretty deep. But if you want a good parlay piece, look at this next fight coming up for you.
Hey,
Mr.
man, okay.
Josh Van.
So I know Chase, my brother. I know you love Josh Van, right? I know he's your guy. I know this. And I understand why. I understand. I get it. Josh is a cool guy. Like, I mean, like there is nothing to dislike, maybe aside from his very weak meme game. But aside from his meme game, let it be weak. I'm not even mad at that. But Shirez is a little bit of a beast, though, bro. I think that this might be slightly a problem for him. I don't know. I mean, he's yet again another Mexican fighter over here. We know how the chins are.
Yeah, this one is gonna be interesting because they don't have the odds out yet, and obviously Josh Van coming in on short notice, right off a knockout. Gonna be interesting if he's the dog. I am putting money on that motherfucker. At least I mean,
For
right
sure.
now it looks like I might, but I don't know. I mean, obviously paycheck, it already hit, so we're broke. We gotta find money to bet.
Feel you. Yeah, I would think that Van would be a good underdog bet if he does end up coming in as the dog. Shirez, there was the fight with
Dos
Santos. Yeah, that obviously that whole situation was a little bit wonky. Came back and showed. I was so glad that they rebooked that fight because in the next one it showed exactly what he was made of all the way through. And
Yeah.
I like the guy. I mean, I think that there's potential there for him to do good things. 11-5, not the greatest record, but
I know, right?
it's maybe you got to say it is somewhat tainted in the way that with all of the odd stuff. But yeah, Van is that dude. Aside from his last fight, so I mean, we'll see what ends up happening. I know that you're gonna ride with him. I guess that's your pick, but I'm kind of leaning towards Shirez. I can't lie. But if he is the underdog, I'd say put some underdog money on him.
All right. Looking through the next ones, not really anything in the next three. I mean, you could talk about the women if you want, but
Well, yeah, I would definitely want to talk. I mean, yeah, these two, I mean, Bahamundes is a dude that has been okay at times. Going against Torres, not really too much to talk about there for me, but I do want to talk about my girl, Irene Aldana, because it was her versus Carol Hossa, I believe, in one of the most banger fights. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it was her, right?
the last fight.
Yes, yeah. So the fight with Carol Hossa, I've said this before, I'll say it again right now. Irene Aldana versus Carol Hossa is a Hall of Fame worthy fight, in my opinion, in women's MMA terms, personally. I think that fight was fantastic. That was reminiscent of Robbie Lawler versus Roy McDonald. And in some respects, it was a bloody affair. You could say that it was because neither of them were blocking a fucking thing, but I don't care. It was fan friendly, and I enjoyed it. Irene Aldana is fucking tough, is what I'm trying to say. So, all that being said, I got to ride with her, even though she is 15-7. Again, these records are not doing too much justice to these fighters, but I got to ride with her. So I'm it's kind of a pick 'em right now, minus 115 to minus 105 on these odds. My money's on Hossa. I mean, not Hossa. It was on Hossa last week, or when she fought last, rather. But it's on Aldana. I'm riding with Aldana.
Right. Yeah, I feel you.
All right. So this, the only thing I'll say about this fight here, Rodriguez versus Osborne, is that this dude has the crazy mouthpiece,
Yes,
and
that's exactly what, bro. I was gonna bring that up too because the base goddess said the same thing.
I don't. Yeah, I am uncomfortable with this gentleman. Rodriguez makes me uncomfortable. That being said, Ode Osborne is a little bit bummy, so I think that there's probably potential for him to get a really nice win in this fight.
Yeah, Ronaldo, dude, it's fucking it. First off, I thought it was, I thought he was wearing one of those fake like children's teeth sets that you
Yeah, yeah, the
it,
hillbilly teeth or whatever.
yeah, exactly. But it's a mouthpiece with teeth with braces on it, and it just doesn't look right because it's
It's
like
unsettling.
it's gum cover colored too. Like, ugh, it's bad.
Yeah. And I mean, not to be too harsh, but he sort of has an unsettling look about him to
I
begin
know.
with. So I'm just saying, like everything about this guy is just sort of like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there used to be a dude whose nickname was Uncle Creepy. I think it's probably better applied, better applied here. But again, I do think he's probably going to win this fight though. So shout out to him. We'll
Yeah.
see what happens.
Yeah,
But
he is a
moving
beast.
on, go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
yeah, he is a beast.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Moving on into some of these higher up the card fights. This fight right here, Zellhuber versus Ribovics. This is probably my fight to watch, aside from the next one on the in the pecking order. But yeah, Zellhuber is a, you talk about beasts. Zellhuber, I honestly think he might have championship potential at some point in the future. It might not be now. It's a little bit tight right now in lightweight, but this guy is the real deal, man. He is so fast.
It sucks because I remember Zellhuber, like, I don't know why I remember him as a finisher.
Because
Just
I mean, he didn't he? He got that beautiful finish not too long ago. I mean, oh okay, yeah. I guess
yeah,
just
that's
the
crazy, ain't it?
yeah, the
Ain't it
Giagos. All right, fair enough. But
when I looked at this, I was thinking like, oh, this is two finishers matching up. Like, this is gonna be really, really good. Because I know
well,
Ribovic, I know he knows how to knock people out, but
I mean,
this
if
could still be a barn burner of a matchup.
yeah, that's what I say. If he's not a finisher in every one of his fights,
Mm.
he's definitely a dude who is winning solidly. You know what I mean? Like again,
Yeah.
he is very very fast and he's explosive. When he gets like the slightest hint of a submission potential situation, he is all over it. I mean, like I'll never forget that one. I think it was the submission that he ended up getting, where like he like swung his body around, like basically like grabbed the neck and swung around to get the back. It was like, dude, that's like a crazy move that you just pulled off, like in the
Mhm.
middle of a fight as everything's in motion. So, yeah, I mean, I think that Zellhuber, in my estimation, should take this fight. Rebevix is nice too, though. You
Yeah.
know, he's got some nice kicks. I mean, finished his last fight, if I'm not mistaken, right? It was he
Kick
did.
Terrence McKinney's head off.
Yeah, yeah, kick Terrence McKinney's head off. Exactly. We talked about that on this show. So, yeah, so there you go. I mean, I think that that's going to be a really great one, Zellhuber versus Ribovics. And moving on to the fight that I think everybody's most excited for, at least everybody I'm talking to, Brian Ortega versus the GOAT, Diego Lopez. Diego, what do you think?
I'm curious. My first thought, now that we're talking about it, will Diego and Brian have custom shorts? This seems like a matchup that I feel maybe they'll throw it in there because I know Shevchenko and O'Malley, that matchup, not that matchup, but both of those fights going to have a special design on their trunks. Maybe O'Malley still goes with the pink or whatever. We don't know. But I think this is right about time that we can give Diego something really fucking cool. Give him some Matador shorts or some flowers, some roses on him or something. And then, Brian, give him an eagle on the ass or something. I don't know, like just something cool.
You heard it here first, people. Eagle on the ass. That is the recommendation from Chase Parton. You can clip that. Well, yeah. I mean, I've said it before. I'm not really too like. I've never been like super impressed with the custom shorts yet. Like I haven't seen a design that I've been like, wow, that's really really cool. But it'd be cool if they did it. As far as the actual fight itself goes, what do you think is going to happen in this thing?
I think we're gonna finally see Brian Ortega finished on the feet. Diego Lopez is gonna drop bombs on this dude.
Yeah, that's spicy. I
Why?
mean,
But like, think about it though. someday he's gotta get finished on the feet. Like, I mean, why is it so spicy that it's just against the dude who really can put lights out?
It's
It,
true. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
maybe you don't slight it and looking back because Diego comes out here and sleeps three other people. Like he already done it 2 times in the past. Like, what if he just keeps going with it? Brian Ortega, you take your loss here, 16-4. Okay, come back in here. You beat Brian, not Brian. You beat Josh Emmett. You come back, you're cool. Like, I mean, you're fine with this loss. You can't take away my boy Diego's momentum right now. This is what is inevitable. He is coming for the belt.
Yeah, I mean that's really the narrative of this thing is, Diego is surging. He's been looking so fantastic. Like any problems that he may have had earlier on in his career just seems like they've evaporated except for his cardio. I worry about his cardio a little bit because third rounds, I mean, this is a 3-rounder, so it's not like he necessarily has to, go that far. I mean, but like if he does end up getting to 5-round fights, I would be a little bit more concerned about it. Other than that, though, I mean, the guy is pretty much about as well-rounded as you can get. He's out there coaching others. Obviously he's skilled enough to, know what he's doing and impart that knowledge to other people. I mean, his time is now, is really where it's at, and it would be unfortunate if it was derailed. But I don't see it. I mean, like, now Ortega is just one of those dudes. I will say that he doesn't know how to die. You know what I mean? Like this guy somehow, I mean, after that fucking fight with Yair Rodriguez, how the fuck did he come back from that? I mean, he was toasted, bro. After nearly fucking spraining his ankle before the fight even started. That's something that kind of gets a little swept under the rug or whatever. But that was an odd little aspect of it. But you have that plus the ass beating that he got. Somehow still was able to come out and finish this fight. I mean, it's a tough one. That's why I'm looking forward to this fight so much. I think the odds are pretty much exactly correct right now. It's close, but it's slightly in Diego's favor. I would say that that's accurate. I will still ride with Diego solely for the fact that, I do believe that he is next up. However, Ortega is 33 years old. He is right there in the prime slot. If it's going to be now, it's going to be now. It's got to be now for him. So a win over Diego Lopez with the way that he's been fighting would be a great look for him if he's trying to get up towards a featherweight belt at some point, because I believe he's staying at featherweight permanently.
100%.
So we'll see it. Moving on to co-main event here. Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko, part 3. What do you think about this thing? You think it's going to go different? You think it's going to go similar to one of the other two? What do you think?
If you want to be one of those people that believe that Alexa Grasso retained the belt only because it was in front of the Mexican home crowd, then you probably believe that she's going to retain the belt this time too. But Valentina Shevchenko arguably won that fight, and as an underdog, I would put so much money on this bitch because she is fucking good.
Yeah, Valentina Shevchenko, as one of, often considered to be one of the greatest women's fighters of all time as an underdog, is pretty much madness to me. I mean, like, if she's plus money on my book, that's an easy underdog pick for sure. That being said, 36 years old, starting to get a little bit up there. I mean, the skill set just never leaves for her. Valentina Shevchenko is the prototype of a fighter in the sense that she doesn't party. She's not, out here talking loud. She goes out, she fights, and that is her life. So, I mean, not to say that Grasso is anything other than that as well, of course, but like, I mean, she's just so locked in to being the best mixed martial artist that she can be. I gotta believe that she can do this. And yeah, and any kind of crowd bias or any of the other bullshit that came into play in that second fight, I believe would go out the window in the Sphere. I don't think it's going to be the same type of environment. Yeah, I'm riding with Shevchenko on this one. I gotta believe that she gets that belt back.
100%.
So, all right, then capping things off, there's been, so this is Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. There's been so much on Merab's side of the equation leading up to this fight. that I have to admit I am a little scared now. Like before, I was riding with Marab solid. I was like, I don't think that he is the same type of grappler as Aljo is. I think that he is the pressure is different from Marab was the prevailing thought that I have. A lot of people are saying, oh, Sean can land the one shot. Sean can knock him out. I'm like, that is possible, but Marab has not been finished that way. So I mean, he's not been knocked out. So I'm like, I gotta believe that it might be boring, it might be cuddle festy, it might not be the exact way method of victory that you would want to see out of that kind of a fight. But I did think that Marab had the advantage just cardio alone, being able to take it into later rounds. I thought he might have been able to do it. All of that being said, there is so much extracurricular bullshit going on with Marab right now that I'm a little bit worried.
I want to say straight off the bat, I think Sean O'Malley is going to win this fight. He's going to chin Marab easily. But Marab is the type of dude and his fighting style that it would suck to see the confidence sucked out of Sean O'Malley. At the height of where he's at right now, if we watched Marab lay on him for 5 rounds and skate by a unanimous decision, similar to how Leon with Bilal, we just watched everything that we once saw for Leon, just like it's all gone at that point. Like he's just getting bitched around the ring, like basically. And if I see that for Sean, that's gonna really fucking suck. Because like I think the confidence plays into like why he's such a why he's a champ right now. It's because he knows that he can knock you out. And if he doesn't knock out Marab, brother, oof.
Well, like I said, though, I mean, I don't know if I would necessarily like categorize it like that when it comes to the knockout specifically, because Marab is a tough-chinned guy. Obviously, again, he has not been knocked out, so it's like he barely knocked out Chris Matino. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Piotr Jan, great fight, but another good example of a fight that was showed that O'Malley is not impenetrable, I guess is the way to put it. I will say that to qualify my previous statements, O'Malley is a much higher fight IQ individual than his persona would lead one to believe. He is a very proficient wrestler, so I don't necessarily think that that if he gets clinched up, he won't have a plan of attack for it. I just think that Marab might be able to negate it. And as a person who does not ride with O'Malley very much, because I don't like all of the aspects that surround him, I would not be too upset if I saw that confidence drain. However, I will say on the other side of that if O'Malley does win this fight, then there may be GOAT list conversations at bantamweight.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see history being made. I really think Sean has the skill set to become something like that, but we just gotta wait and see what happens. I'm taking Sean, man, knockout. I hope it's early, because by the time these long cards, I know this isn't necessarily a long card, but by the time they get through with all this stuff, this main event, I am praying for quick main events, because they drag some of this shit on so much.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, and I mean, I think that I don't know if you're going to get that, because I think that there's going to be a ton of extra shit because it's at the Sphere. I think you're going to be seeing long video presentations, but we'll see how it all plays out.
They'll break out all the new movie trailers just to play it.
Legit. It's going to be a lot. I mean, because they were talking about how they're going to do all this like Mexican heritage stuff on the screens. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to be sitting through a fucking history class over here. But, well, I mean, not in a bad way, because there are great Mexican fighters or whatever, but, we want to see the fights. Either which way, just to flesh out a little bit in case anybody does not know what I was talking about earlier with Marab and his outside of the cage stuff. So there was the video of him drinking and dancing at the bar. I chalked that up to possibly being a Ryan Garcia moment. I think that he might have, maybe been, just doing that for the camera, because he is a little bit of a jokester, prankster type of guy. But there was also the cut. The cut, Sean O'Malley has said specifically that he is going to target that cut. The cut was over, I believe, the right eye. Sean said he's going to be going right after that vulnerable spot. There is potential there for, that to reopen, perhaps. I mean, I would assume that it's going to be 100% healed. You never know. Then on top of that, the most glaring issue that I see in Merab was that he possibly has had staph infection sometime recently. There was the little dime-sized mark on his arm. He was saying it might have been ringworm. It looked like staph to me.
Is that better, Marab?
Exactly. Yeah.
If you have ringworm, does that mean that we should not think you have staph also?
Yeah, exactly. So staph is notorious for depleting gas tanks. That is something that Benoit Saint Denis found out the hard way. So I am a little concerned about Merab because obviously Merab is a cardio machine. If that gas tank is compromised in any way, I think that this is going to be very bad for Merab. So still, odds are somewhat close. I mean, based on O'Malley being as dominant a champ as he has been so far, I mean, not obviously the Cheeto fight was a bit of a vanity fight, but he did win it roundly, has won all of his other fights. First Cheeto fight aside, of course. So I think that Merab is still probably a decent underdog bet. That being said, bet with caution. It's just how 100%. I look at it. I'm still riding with Merab, though. And also, just to touch on what Roland Denny is saying in the chat about the number of fights on this card, that's also part of what we were talking about earlier with the financial situation of the Sphere. This card is extremely expensive overall because of the Sphere of just being an extremely expensive venue and all of the other factors that go into putting on a show there. So this card is actually intentionally abbreviated. The prelims start at 7:30 local time, Eastern Standard Time for us. So that's a late start indeed, and it's a shorter card in general as well. It's all part of the same equation as far as the finances go.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so there you go. We will, of course, be watching 306, Riyadh season Noche UFC. On stream, I will be watching here with the Vitz King. You can hang out with us for that. My buddy Chase Parton also will be doing a watch-along for that. And Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you at.
You guys can find me at youtube.com/@CPSmalls. And if you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me and Cody Durden both following each other at Creative Parton, Partin. And it's a good time there, so hit me up.
Make sure you follow my boy, and make sure you tweet at Cody Durden to not unfollow Chase, because everything that Chase is doing is making him want to unfollow. I guarantee it, but brother, do not do it just yet. We're riding with you. So,
I got you.
So there's going to be a new video coming out this week about John Jones. I hope that everybody checks that out. Make sure that you're subscribed to this channel. That's at Yema Show on YouTube for all of the content there. I will be back tomorrow also with the Vitz King to do a watch along for the Contender series. You can see that live with me. Chase will be doing a watch along sometime thereafter. You can rock with him as well over on his channel for that. We will catch up with you tomorrow over here, everybody. Until then, you have a great rest of your night, great day tomorrow, and of course, fight on.